All right, welcome back. This is part B to the part 22. And where we left off, like Izuku was having a conversation through like a new evolution of his quirk. And some of you can probably already guess where this ability like derives from. But I ask that you don't like comment it down in the comment section, like because it does play a little bit of a role in later parts. So that being said, this is part B to 22 part to what if Deku was born with a hybrid quirk. So we left off with Izuku having a conversation with Momo and Kendo through his mind about like this woman and everything, and like doesn't have a range or a limit. And Izuku's like, well, I don't know, like, and it's almost time for bed, but like I figured like I could do this and like we could talk until until one of us like goes to sleep. And Momo and Kendo like kind of blush at this, and they're like, well, and Izuku's like, well, what? And he's like, well, this kind of makes things a lot easier. We can really talk a lot. And Izuku's like, okay. And Izuku basically goes to his room, and Momo and Kina go to theirs, and like they're just having a conversation, and they kind of like say, this is a little weird, it just it's kind of weird. And Izuku's like, yeah, but like I didn't want to like approach Katsuki about this because he might freak out about it, you know. And they're like, yeah, he seems like the type of person that would like get angry about this. And he's like, it's not like I can intentionally do it, um, but like the other person has to be willing. And Momo and Kendo is like, really? So like it has to there has to be a two-way acceptance from the two. And Izuku's like, yeah, like, and I kind of want to like test out like how long like this like I can keep this up. And so he's like, I won't like willfully in the mark like willfully. So if things cut out, I've either fallen asleep or one of you have fallen asleep, and I'm going to be heading to bed sooner. And so Momo kind of like falls asleep, and like he's like, are you there?" and everything, and Momo doesn't reply, and then he's like tells Kendo, and he's like, well, I guess this is good night. But then Kendo's like, I kind of want to like talk a little bit longer. And Izuku's like, what is it about? And she's like, well, I never really thanked you for like rescuing me and saving my life. I never really like properly thanked you for that. And Izuku's like, don't mention it. Like if it came down to it, I would do it again. And she's like, but what about Mama? And he's like, well, I'd do the same thing for her. And they kind of have a little bit of a conversation about him and Momo technically being engaged. And she's like, what's going to be going on with that? And Izuku's like, well, like I said before, I can't really choose between the two of you, and I'm not sure how this will work out between us three. And Kendo like says, I'm sorry for like putting you on the spot about it, but it is something that we're gonna have to figure out, you know. And Izuku's like, yeah. And with that, he says, well, I'm kind of getting tired, and like I still need to like spend time like recovering and like let my body rest so it can do its thing. And so he says goodnight to Kendo, and like he ends the connection and then go and falls asleep shortly after. So we cut to the next day, and Izuku like meets up with everyone downstairs because he's going like they still have a few more days before the provisional license exam. And he basically asks, Kendo and Momo if they wanted to go out on a date in the afternoon. And they're like, yeah, like, what's up? And he's like, well, I kind of like want to meet up with a few people and like go over this whole new quirk development and everything. They're like, really? And Izuku is like, well, I think Katsuki's probably already figured it out. And I'm like, that's kind of funny. And so that afternoon, like, they go on their date, and then after their date, like, they meet up with Katsuki, Uraraka, and Kirishima, and Todoroki, because, like, he asked them to meet them. He asked Katsuki to, like, bring them to, like, the building. And they do, and Izuku, like, he's like, well, the Izuku, Momo, and Kendo like walk into like the dining area and everyone's there and they're like, "What's up? What's going on here?" Like, and Izuku's like, "Well, Momo and Kendo already have, and like we've been kind of testing this out and everything." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And Katsuki kind of like looks at Izuku and is like, "It's happened, hasn't it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And Katsuki's like, what is it this time? And everyone kind of looks at Katsuki and he's like, they're asking, like, what's going on? And Katsuki's like, well, I think Izuku's quirk may have evolved again. And they're like, this is crazy. And then Izuku's like, well, it's kind of hard to explain. It's better if I show you guys. And just to keep the secret from like Todoroki and Kirishima about it, he basically everyone sees like these blood tendrils come out of his hands and everything, and they were like he marks like everyone's head, including Katsuki's, even though he doesn't really need to. And he basically explains like, I want to do something, like, are you guys willing? And like they all say, yeah, we're willing, but this seems a little bit weird. Why are you marking us? And then Izuku basically explains like the new development with his quirk without actually speaking, and like everyone's it freaks out like in a shocking way. It's like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you can communicate with the people you mark. And Izuku's like, not. And then Momo and Kendo basically speak up without making their mouths, and he's like, without moving their mouths, and he's like, it's not only that, we can speak with everyone without actually talking. And then you're like, what? You have telepathy now? And Izuku ends like the connection and everything, and he's like, no, not really. It's like my marking portion of my quirk where I give you guys boosts and stuff. I've kind of learned how to communicate through that connection, and I can somehow act as a hub. I don't really understand it, but I, I've been thinking about this. But in the provisional licensing exam, if there's any kind of like group combat or something, we're probably going to have a big target on our heads. And they're like, what do you mean? And this is when Momo speaks up. She's like, well, think about it. We have the sports festival that goes on, and we're pretty much the only school that does something like that. So everyone else is going to know what our quirks were at the time, and they're going to have a game plan to like deal with this. And then Izuku says, yeah, but if we use this with the entire class, I don't think like we would have any issues, and we could probably pass that around very easily. And everyone's like, yeah, but like, isn't that kind of cheating? And Izuku's like, well, isn't that the point of these licensing exams, to see like the potential of heroes and stuff? And they're like, yeah, that makes. And so Izuku basically comes up with a game plan with them. And before, like the day before, like he asks Aizawa to like, if he can speak during one of the classes when everyone's together. And Izuku basically goes over like the new development of his quirk and everything. And Aizawa was kind of a little shocked about this, but he's kind of smiling. And he's like, "Oh, this year's going to be fun. They won't know what hits them," because Aizawa knows what like the tradition of the crushing of UA. Basically, all the schools in the exam like gang up on UA to like eliminate them as soon as possible. Because like what Izuku explained does happen. So now we get into the provisional licensing exam. And before that, Izuku basically makes like he creates like blood tendrils on the bus and basically marks everyone. And he's like, "Can everyone hear me?" And then everyone like replies, it's like in unison. And he's like, and they're like, "Yeah, like we can hear you." And then like someone was like out loud, was like, "But we can hear everybody else." And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, but we can't hear Mineta." And like Izuku's like, "Yeah, Mineta." He kind of walks up to Mineta and is like, "No pervy comments. One thing, and you're on your own in this." And Mineta kind of like gulps because Izuku says this in a very, very intimidating way, like voice. And he's like, "Yeah, I won't do it. I won't do it." And Izuku White pulls out another blood tendril and marks him as well. And then Izuku's like basically going over his game plan. He's like, "So what I've been speaking with, like I'm pretty sure they're all going, like the other schools are going to come after us because they know what our quirks are, but they don't know how strong we've gotten. So my plan is we stick as a group and basically we use Todoroki's like ice to like create like walls and stuff, and like some coverage and stuff if we're ever in like an open area." And he basically says in Mineta, like you can use your sticky balls to like kind of immobilize people. And then they're like, what about you? And Katsuki is like, well, we're here to like gather people up. And when Izuku like tells them this, he's kind of like smiling about it, and they're like, "Oh God, what are you going to do?" And Izuku, "Oh, nothing. I'm not gonna hurt anybody, but I'm pretty sure we would pass this if we work together." And so they go through the normal things and everything. And Miss Joke is kind of talking to like the conversation between Miss Joke and Aizawa goes the same. And Aizawa says difference between UA and other schools is we prepare for the unexpected. Did you do that with your students? Because if not, they're in for a rude awakening with this bunch. And as soon as the buzzer goes off, everyone's like walking, and then like everything happens like in canon up to the point where like before the ground like starts quaking and everything. And Izuku tells Todoroki like prepare and like make sure like you keep the ground solid. And Katsuki and Izuku are talking, and Izuku basically makes it a one-way conversation between him and Katsu for a little bit, and he's like, yeah, like, I didn't want, like, he's like, I probably could have did this with you, like, without having to mark you, but I didn't want to, like, come out with, like, like, that portion of my quirk. And he's like, yeah, I kind of figured, but, like, what's the plan? And he's like, well, we're gonna need you to, like, carry Oraka up and basically dive bomb and create a ton of gravity. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, like, she's able to, like, increase the gravity now. And he's like, how'd you know about that? And he's like, dude, I'm not stupid. Plus, you kind of mentioned it before, and I'm pretty sure by now, like, you've helped her, like, be able to control it, because you guys have been hanging out quite a bit. And he's like, so am I going to get a sister-in-law? And, like, Katsu's like, dude, shut up. And he's, like, kind of blushing a little bit. And so he basically explains that she can increase the gravity, which would make other people kind of weak to their knees, and it would give me enough time to, like, gather some up and basically throw them to the wolves to our classmates. And Katsuki's like, I see now, like, I get it. So what about us? And it's like, well, we're not gonna pass, and, like, we could easily, like, pass, right? And Katsuki's like, yeah, it'd be easy, but I see you want to, like, help out our classmates. And Izuku says, yeah, if they had their provisional licenses, like, we wouldn't necessarily need, like, a teacher or a pro with us. We could just have a police officer there, because it would give us certain it'd give us, like, certain rights to use our quirks in public and stuff. And Izuku's and Katsu's like, gotcha. So all I have to do is fly up with Uraraka, and we basically dive bomb and create, like, a massive gravitational wave. And he's like, yeah, like, that's pretty much it. So, like, all of a sudden, like, they're having, like, everyone's, like, kind of yelling, like, down, and Izuku's like, and he's in, like, sort of his buff form, and then, like, he closes his eyes and starts breathing, and everyone's like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you powering back up and everything? Kind of, like, mocking him, and it's like, he's so scared he can't act. And then when he exhales one time, there's just, like, a mini shockwave that happens, and he's shrunk down to, like, a smaller, like, some of the kids are, like, laughing, and they're like, oh my god, he's shrunk down, like, what did he do, lose his power and everything? They're laughing at this. And then all of a sudden they just hear a boom, and this is where Izuku literally just took off running. And Ida's just thinking, is like, holy crap, I'm never going to get that fast. And in, like, basically an instant, Izuku, like, has ran and grabbed a bunch of people and basically thrown them into the class. And Izuku, like, pretty much, like, the entire class 1A passes the first round. And because it's kind of like a similar theme, a similar scene, like, at the end, where, like, the rest of the class passes the first round when God, I can't think of his name, but the naval laser guy shoots a laser up, and, like, the entire class 1A, like, knows who that is, and they basically converge on that spot, and they all get their points and stuff. This just happens a little sooner, and, like, all the stuff that happened with the introductions when they got there did happen, and the stuff with Izuku and like the other students did happen. The thing with the Wen guy where he just eliminated a bunch of people like out the gate and everything. But Class 1A is kind of like watching some of this stuff, and they're like, yeah, those guys are going to be tough to deal with. Like, we have to directly go into them. And at this point, Izuku has kind of like removed the quirk and remove the mark from him because it does drain stamina the longer he keeps it up. And he's like trying to conserve stamina because he doesn't know what the next thing is going to be. So then he's like, so they get to the second part, and it's explained that they're going to be participating in a massive disaster. And at this point, like the people that did kind of see what Izuku did, they kind of like walk up to him and they're like, so we're gonna take it that you came up with that plan and everything. And Izuku's like, yeah, but like that's only part of it. Like we kind of figured out that we would probably be targets. And like the Wind guy kind of laughs at this and is like, so everything. And then he walks up to Todoroki and he's like, do you remember me? And like Todoroki's like, who are you? And this kind of pisses him off. He was like, I can't believe you, just like your dad. And then Todoroki's like, I'm nothing like my father. He's a complete asshole. And then this kind of shocks the Wind guy. And he's like, oh, touchy subject there. I'm sorry about that, buddy. And then Izuku, like, he like, they do the whole thing and everything. And then when Izuku gets, like, sets up, like, the medical area and everything, and then the mock villain attack happens, Izuku basically goes, okay, so we got to deal with this guy. And he basically marks, like, Todoroki and the Wind guy, and he explains to the Wind guy, he's like, this is part of, like, one of my quirks. I'm basically giving you both a boost, and I'm going to act like a conduit between you two. You guys are like the strongest next to me and Katsuki, but me and Katsuki would work better evacuating people from the area. And Katsuki's still out there like making one final round to make sure no one else is left behind. And like I can protect the evacuation route, and then like the rest of the Class 1A like comes in, and he's like, and these guys can like help deal with the small fries, and I can make sure no one gets like to the civilians that are injured, and we need to like get them out of this area and everything. And he says this to Todoroki and the Wind guy, and then like, so the Wind guy's like, so this is kind of weird, and Todoroki's like, yeah, it's still weird for me, and I've known about this. And then one guy's like, what? Did you guys use this during the first portion? And Todoroki's like, yeah, we kind of did. And so Todoroki and the Wind guy try to like deal with the gang Gorka, and like their quirks are kind of canceling each other out. And then Izuku like tells them like through the mind link, that what are you guys doing? Like, you should be using your quirks like this, like kind of create like a funnel of fire and wind, and like it would dry his skin out, and you guys wouldn't expend as much energy. And this kind of like wakes up both of them, and they actually start working together. And like the examiners are kind of like looking at this, they're like, what? Like, how are they working on such good unison? It's like they can... Wait a minute. And Miss Joke's like, so, like, is that part of, like, one of your kids' quirks? And he's like, yeah, you see the green-haired boy over there? Notice how his eyes are glowing? And they're like, yeah, like, that's weird. Like, what is that? And he's like, well, it seems like he's using his quirk with those two. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, as I kind of explained, it's like, you know how, like, you've probably heard, but he can kind of, like, mark people and give them, like, a boost. Well, he's kind of unlocked another ability with that where he can communicate telepathically with the people that he's marked, in some way act as a hub if he is using his quirk, but it does drain his stamina, and at an alarming rate when he allows, like, the other people to communicate with each other. So with that being said, like, he's basically giving them an advice, and they're basically working in a 3-person unit to, like, protect the civilians from, like, the things. And at this point, like, she just sees Izuku basically taking out, like, a bunch of, like, Ging Orca's men that are, like, trying to get to the civilians. So with that being said, this video is coming up on 25 minutes or 26 minutes. I'm going to end this part here, and this was part B to part 22. And I will go over part 23 will be the conclusion of the exam and the recognition of a few people. And this is going to surprise some of the students. So with that being said, thanks for like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And thanks for all the support and a few more people, and I will get the 100 subscriber special recorded. That being said, enjoy your day and peace out.